Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Julia Mann. I am a professional network marketer. I'm an actor and I'm also an EFT practitioner. And today I'm joined by Gareth Rafferty. Hi Gareth.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. So Gareth is founder of Newfound Media. And firstly, Gareth, I want to ask you, because I know that you help people to find their, to build and find their voice on LinkedIn. When you were growing up, did you always have a voice?
Certainly not. Great question. And it comes back to the reasons why I started Newfound Media as a whole. I started the company because I was always that kid in school that never really fit into the groups of what high school laid out for me. And I've realized that that doesn't just happen in school, it actually happens in the workplace as well. And so I thought, you know what, I want to help those people that don't always have a voice to get their voice. And I'm starting on LinkedIn, but I'm hoping to expand it out. And I also found that the people that don't usually speak, they'll either sit at the back of the class, they're the ones that may be a little bit quieter in the office. Those people have really, really interesting things to say. And hence, here is my business today.
Brilliant. I think everyone's got something interesting to say, haven't they? It's just being able to hear it, isn't it? So some people might think you're really quite young to have started your own business. Has that ever been an obstacle?
It hasn't been a physical obstacle, to be honest, but it's been more of a mental barrier. So I think it's easy to look at all of these big entrepreneurs that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and then think, wow, they're literally double my age. How on earth am I going to compete with that? And once you overcome the mental obstacle, you realize that 9 times out of 10, people don't really care as long as you can show what you can do and how you can help the other people on the other side of the phone call or the other side of the boardroom table.
Brilliant. And some of us are in our 60s, just so you know. So you've got this really brilliant quote on your profile by Les Brown, and I really love Les Brown. And it says, other people's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Life has no limitations except the ones you make. So why is it that that particular quote resonated with you?
It's like, I'm not even sure. It's one of those things, and I've started jotting these down actually. You know, when you're scrolling through social media and you just read something, whether it's in the caption of a post, it's on an Instagram image, whatever that is, and it just really resonates with you. Well, I was listening to a video and I listened to Les Brown and some of the other people like Eric Thomas, etc., every morning, usually when I go out for a run and things. And this quote in particular just stood out to me because there's a lot of pressure in society today to conform to everyone else's standards. And actually, that quote really sums it up, that you see these people on Instagram, you don't have to be what they want you to be. And also it comes down to friends, family. For me, it was the council. They tend to try and push you into what's known as the safe route, which is going into a full-time job, having a family and buying a house, etc. And that's just the normal way in society to go. But actually, I realized that I want to go maybe slightly different and a different route, and I want to carve my own path, even if that does lead to tons of mistakes. I've got to at least try. And this quote just really summed it up in a nice little sentence for me.
I love that, Gareth. And actually, you can't be successful in any way without actually having challenges and making mistakes and learning by those mistakes, can you? So what would you say is the biggest challenge you've ever had to face in your life?
A few things, literally, as you said that question, a few things popped up to me. So back in 2010, my dad unfortunately passed away. I didn't live with him. I was brought up in foster care, but him passing away, he was one of like my main family members, if not the main family member, that although I didn't see him every day, I got to see him maybe once every 2 weeks. But him passing away was a massive challenge for me. And I've realized now how much I've actually missed by not having parents. And I remember in school, I always used to see people complaining about their parents. And a part of me, like the 1% of me, used to think, well, isn't that part of having a family, complaining about your parents? Because I'm sure most people do it. You know, if someone doesn't do their laundry or they don't empty their bin, you have a little natter to your friends. But actually, that's part of the family life. And especially as we approach Christmas, it's one of those things that is just part of being a family. And it's those small things that I realized that growing up, being in foster care, I sort of missed. So my dad was a huge challenge, especially because after I got told that my dad had died, I walked into the front room and I saw my younger brother. I saw my 2 younger brothers and my sister. And my oldest of my younger brothers, who is now 16, he said to me, "Dad is in the sky." And as a little kid, I was probably about 11 at the time. He must have been 8, maybe. He didn't fully understand what was going on, but though that line that he said to me was like really, really tough. In terms of business challenges, I think it's more mental challenges than actual physical challenges. Like when you first decide you want to start the first company, it's very much like, okay, where on earth do I begin? Because I've got to do sales, I've got to learn marketing, I've got to learn how to actually set up a company. And sometimes that can get a little overwhelming. But I've found throughout my time wanting to start a business that, you know, what will take you in the beginning a day or even a month now can take me an hour or a few minutes. So just sticking with the process and being determined was also a challenge back in the beginning of starting a business.
I guess as well, you have to be quite determined to kind of go through foster care, don't you?
Yeah. I like to name myself as resilient. I think that word kind of sums me up as a person.
Brilliant. Yeah. What would you say are the most common problems that people face when they're building their personal brand?
I think one of the most common is consistency, and you hear it a lot. Like it's super easy to say, you know, you need to be consistent, but actually a lot of people will start and they'll say, yeah, I'm being consistent, I'm post every day for 30 days. And then they get to day 30 and realize that not much has came from it and they may only get 1 or 2 likes. And actually it's not really consistency in the short term, but consistency in the long term. You know, if you post for 6 days out of 7 days a week consistently, you're still going to see over time a big result. But if you post every day for 30 days, in the short term, that looks better. But actually in the long term, if you just drop off after the 30 days, you're not really going to move forward. So I think consistency is a massive barrier. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's actually physical, being able to produce the elements. And yeah, so I definitely say consistency.
I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things in the industry that I'm in network marketing. It's all about consistency. It's about those little things that you do daily that make the impact long term. I couldn't agree more with that. So I know back in 2016, you became a total respect trainer. Now, I've never heard of a total respect trainer, but so can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, of course. It's really funny that you mentioned that because that was one of the first things that got me into public speaking. So total respect training is basically to help business people, counselors, teachers, these types of people to really take into mind what foster children go through. So they get a bunch of foster kids to present, run all these different activities. And there's one really, really cutting one that I've heard is really tough, where we get you to draw yourself when you were a kid, maybe 6 years old, outside your house with your family. You know, if you've got any pets, you draw them on there. And then after, say, 5-10 minutes, once everyone's made all their artistic pieces, we then go around and we collect them all. But actually, just before we go through and collect the houses, we get them to rip themselves out of the houses. Just themselves, no other family members, just themselves. And then we go and we take all the houses and then distribute them randomly to everyone else in the room. So now you're not going to get the house that you drew, you're going to get someone else's house. And then afterwards, we tell the people that little ripped out version of them to put themselves into that image. And for a lot of people, that allows them mentally to see what it would be like to be in foster care. So I'm sure you're having thoughts and feelings about what you would be like if you placed yourself in someone else's household. It just doesn't feel like home. And so total respect training really is to get these sorts of individuals that work with care leavers and children in care on a daily basis to start thinking about some of the challenges and the feelings, thoughts, emotions, and just the things that they go through on a daily basis, to start thinking about those things more.
What an amazing exercise.
It really, really is. And sometimes we do half a day, sometimes we do a full day, but afterwards we always get positive reviews.
Are you still doing that then, Gareth?
Obviously, due to COVID, it has slowed down, but they have like a handful of care leavers. I've been called multiple times, and they run it a few times a year. So maybe next year, if COVID goes away a little bit more, then maybe that'll start up and running. But at the moment, it's kind of postponed, I believe.
Given your background and having grown up in foster care, how important is it being a total respect trainer to you?
I think it's really important. It made me develop skills I didn't even realize I was developing. And I mean, I was only a teenager at the time, but when someone asked me to do public speaking, I was confident to go up and speak. And then I was like, but how did I even learn how to be a public speaker? And then I realized by doing trainings with 30 people in a room that actually it wasn't as hard as what I thought it was. And then I just kind of developed from there. But also it allows you to hear the perspective of others as well. You don't have to fully share your story because some people like to share it, some people prefer not to. But it's amazing to see how different everyone's life is, even though you may all be put in the box of being a care leaver or a child in care. It's different for every individual and their experiences. So it's really nice to speak to these people. And sometimes as well, you can offer advice or guidance to those other individuals, especially if they're younger as well and they're struggling to go through not seeing their parents or whatever.
Brilliant. I know that you like working with coaches. So why have you chosen to work particularly with coaches?
Yeah, so coaches, I just find should, and emphasis on should, be the more positive 1% of the population. And hence, I love working with positive people. I love working with people that are ambitious and also people that have loads of creative ideas. And hence, I've started targeting coaches more just because of that fact that they're generally more positive, more happy, and I like that positive energy that coaches give off.
Yeah, and we all want to work with people we like, don't we?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So what would you say, I mean, tips, what would you say are some great tips that someone starting to build their LinkedIn presence could benefit from?
So I would start off by picking a colour, whether that's a colour that is like means something to you or whether it's a colour that you just identify with or just a colour that you love. So mine, I've just chose blue, hence blue hoodies. And I've also got like blue headers and things. And by having this colour, it allows you to implement it a little bit into your profile. So on my LinkedIn profile, I always produce blue headers on my videos, and I usually try and add some element of blue for the majority. I mean, if I'm out and about and I'm on a train station and, you know, I take a random photo, okay, 1 in 10 posts may not be blue, but generally you'll see the blue theme as you go through my profile. And I think by adding that color, it allows you to be identifiable with that color. So if it pops up on the feed on content, or if it's on your profile, you can see that color aspect come through. And that just allows, like, as soon as people see blue, they'll think, oh, Gareth, even if it's not necessarily my content. Just like if you hear or you see yellow and red, you're probably going to think of McDonald's. And it's just that identifiable basis. Also, I would stop people from stopping themselves in making content. a lot of people get reluctant to make content, especially on LinkedIn, because it's still seen as a business platform. Now, if anyone's watching this and they're in that exact situation, the one piece of advice I would say is check out Dan Knowlton. This guy, basically, to give you an overview, he jumps on LinkedIn video, creates random skit videos, and he puts wigs and things on. And he made one video a few months back, which was him in lots of different outfits and masks doing random poses, and he was changing through the different types of people that he sees on LinkedIn. So he had like the keyboard warrior, and he was a bit slouched over, he had glasses on, he was pulling a weird face. And he had the sales guy, and he was leaned back with a suit touching his tie, all those different things. And it's this fun content that is really going to move LinkedIn to the next kind of stage of the LinkedIn life, if you want to call it that. Because the truth is, people see LinkedIn as a business platform, but if you saw a really cute puppy on LinkedIn, or if you saw a really cute puppy on Instagram or Facebook, whatever platform it's on, you're most likely going to engage. And it works the same. So although people are on the platform and they may have a slightly different mindset to be why they are on LinkedIn as opposed to why they're on YouTube or why they're on Instagram, they're still going to react to the same things. And I think those 2 points, adding color and trying to make content, even if you don't have a great camera on your phone, still showing up and making videos, making like text posts. If you're not 100% on video, then that will just allow you to get that ball rolling. If you are trying to get into video but you're not confident in video, I understand. I've been in that situation. I had to force myself into video. And you just want something that's going to allow you to take a little bit of a step before getting into video. Podcasts are a great way to do that. So if you see anyone with a podcast, ask them if you can be a guest. And that really helps as a stepping stone, because you don't have to be videoed, but your voice is still there. And that will allow you to build your confidence a little bit to get into that video content.
Brilliant advice, Gareth. So why would someone choose to work with you specifically?
Someone said something to me about a year ago when I was crafting the pivot of my business. And this is probably the reason why. So he basically said, when I was doing research, he said, if you can get someone to be as authentic as you in your content, that service is invaluable. And that just really opened my eyes to the value that I bring to people on a daily basis. Because we all get bogged down if we don't see the numbers that we like to see, but comments like that really, really open your eyes. It's not about how many, it's about the people that you're impacting. And so that is the reason why I help people basically provide value to their audience, share their positivity. And some other people don't do that. Some other people are just about the sales on LinkedIn and just about putting out boring content. I love to flourish in creative ideas, and hence the company.
Brilliant. I know that you've won a number of awards in your life, and you obviously are very driven. How important would you say is drive in business?
I think it's so important. I mean, you see all of these stories where people have literally been down to their last £10 and they've been forced to build a company because they have to look after their children and they haven't got a job. And that forces people to be ambitious because they have to, else their kids are going to suffer, they're going to suffer, and who knows what could happen. And usually the people that are in these really tough restraints are the ones that really, really succeed. So I think if you have drive, it allows you to be able to grow. If you don't really have drive, I can't really see how you would move forward. Like, you would just basically be the same as what you would with a job. You'd just be doing the exact same thing, 9 to 5 maybe. But then I also understand that with business in general, some people, I made a post about this a few days ago, some people don't want to build up the biggest company in the world and make $10 million or whatever. Some people just want to work 3 hours a week with people they love and impact people and have enough money to be able to retire. And obviously that varies for age difference. Some people, I've seen people that are my age that they're working towards retiring when they're 30. Now, personally, in my current mindset, I can't really ever see me not wanting to work with people and wanting to retire, but that may change over the next 40 years. We shall see. But yeah, like I think drive is extremely, extremely important, and it allows you to see things that aren't always there. And that's why companies like Apple have been so successful, when they have the visionaries at the front moving the company forward.
I guess you could call drive passion, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, really have a passion for what you do. So you mentioned earlier podcasts, and I know you started a podcast a couple of years ago. So what made you do that, Gareth?
I started my podcast because I saw people, big entrepreneurs, like people like Gary Vaynerchuk, if you've heard of him, Grant Cardone, all the Ty Lopez, even all these big entrepreneurs that were saying, oh yeah, I'm at the top of the tree and this is how you get here. But you never really see it from day one. And so literally the day that I decided I wanted to start a company, I started the podcast. And the whole point of that was to document the journey, the failures, the successes throughout the whole of my business life, and just tell people where things are at, where things are going wrong, and the truth behind it all. I mean, I don't make $1 million, nowhere near, but who knows, in 10 years I may be there. And if I do get there, and maybe when I do get there, then that will be really interesting to watch back, the first episode of me with this microphone that I got from Amazon, which cost me £20, and just sitting there saying and not really knowing what to say and just trying it out. And I think that also is something that you have to do when you're going to marketing. You've just got to try things out. And so that is the whole reason why I started my podcast, and also to meet people along the way that can share helpful advice for people in a similar situation to me.
And also to look back and feel really proud of what you've accomplished and who you've become.
Yeah. I mean, in 5 years, maybe I'll listen back to episode 1, 2, 3, and I'll probably laugh at myself.
So important, isn't it, to laugh at ourselves, to lighten up about it. So what is your dream, Gareth?
Oh, I've got multiple dreams, if you want to call it that. But it's also just things that I want to accomplish. So things like a bucket list, for example. I'd love to go to Alaska, go snowboarding. I have no idea how to go snowboarding. I've never been snowboarding in my life, but I don't want to go to the French Alps. It's a typical place where UK people go if they want to go snowboarding or skiing. I want to go to Alaska, and on that day, I'm going to learn how to snowboard. And I'm probably going to fall 10 times over, but we'll see what happens, I suppose. So that's one of my dreams in terms of holidays. In terms of business and those types of dreams, I would love to build a business that can go international in the US. I don't know why, I just love the US. And have rooms full of passionate people, working with people that are passionate about what they do, and do things such as, helping people build their voice online, share their happiness, and just help people with their journey. I mean, if I have a bunch of people that are really passionate about what they do, one guy that is really passionate about Twitter and will be doing it whether they're with me or whether they're not with me, the same with LinkedIn, the same with YouTube, the same with TikTok, then when people come to us to need help with social media, then we could say, okay, if you need help with Twitter and LinkedIn, you'll go to these two people because these are the most passionate. These will be doing it anyway. And these are the ones that are going to be experimenting and testing. And so you go to those people. So ideally, that's what I'd love. But then as I grow as a person and I grow the business and things start to flourish and get to that stage, I'd love to still work in that environment on a daily basis, but also be traveling the world, speaking on stages, because there is no feeling that I've ever got that is anything like the feeling when you know in the next 5 minutes you're going to get called to speak up in front of hundreds or thousands of people. When I last spoke, I spoke in front of 500 people. It could have been more. And I knew that in the next 20 minutes I was going to get called, but I had no idea when. And the person before me that I knew was going to be before me got called up. I was literally opposite the door. So I was so tempted to just run. I was that nervous. But as soon as I got on stage, I took a few deep breaths, and I just started speaking, and all of that went away. And then afterwards, you just feel like a huge rush of adrenaline, and that whole, emotional roller coaster. I just love it. So that overall is what I would love to happen, and keep watching so you can see the journey of achieving that.
Brilliant. Love it. So anything else you'd like to say before we close, Gareth?
If anyone has any questions or just wants to speak to me, LinkedIn is probably the best place, Gareth Rafferty. Or if you want to find me on any other social media, you can either Google me, you'll probably find me, most likely. And if you want to contact me on anything else, it's Gareth G. Rafferty on any social media platform, pretty much.
Gareth Rafferty, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Bye.